So I've around about 19.5 million coins, so let's walk you guys through how I'm going to invest it. So just before the video does start, a quick little ad on a trading service I offer over on Twitch for the cheapest trading guides out there for just £4, €4, all free with Amazon Prime. You'll receive daily trading and investing guides covering PlayStation, Xbox and PC with an array of methods covering all budgets. And I've been trading for over 10 years, making over 100 million in multiple different FIFAs, and now for the last 4 years I've made 10 million coins in just the first month. So we've gone and invested around about 16.5 million coins, and those are into 4 different segments. I'll walk you through all those segments right now. The first one is me buying Team of the Weeks that have been used for recent Evos. For example, the Americans that were used in a recent American Evo, and Van Amstel who was used in a recent Dutch Evo. So that's the first sort of investment, and again I'll walk through all these one by one. Second investment I've gone for is a bunch of Brazilian players. You can see right here loads and loads of Brazilian players. That's because we know that next week's tournament is Brazil for the Foot Champs. I will be covering that in a whole different video about buying Brazilians and the best Brazilians and where's the gaps and so on. But specifically, you know, I'm buying these as Brazilian Team of the Weeks for that. We then got Portuguese players like Diego Jota, what else we have? Bruno Fernandes's, Fatina's, Cancelo's, and all of those are for the current tournament that I think will rise nicely between now and this afternoon. And then the last investment that I've gone for, and this is where the bulk of my coins are, because I don't like going unassigned, because it's kind of a bit of a boring way of playing FIFA, being unassigned, not being able to open packs. I've basically gone and bought one of every single Team of the Week, so that I'm not unassigned, but I've still managed to generally put about 14 million coins into just one of every single Team of the Week. You can see right there is pages and pages and pages. I'd imagine there's probably going to be about, I think we were on 27 pages last week. I think I've bought a few more pages this week. There we go, we're up to 33 pages. The first thing I'll talk about actually is kind of how I split my investment. So basically, I have around about 150 spaces to invest and then can buy one of every player. The reason for that is I can obviously have 100 players on my transfer list, and I'm not unassigned, and then I can have another 50 players in my bidding list. As soon as I go over that 150, I'm going to be unassigned on the players. So I basically dedicate 150 spots onto players that I want to buy duplicates of, so they're going to be like decent investments, and then any excess coins is what goes into buying one of every player. So let's walk through the first investment that I think is better to go for than just buying any sort of Team of the Week. And that is buying a Team of the Week that is being used for Evos. Now, why have I done this? Now, the Team of the Weeks that are being used for Evos basically have additional demand. They're not just demanded because they're being used for, you know, Team of the Week or Team of the Season parts of SBCs. They're being used because of Evos. So if I go and load up Van Amstel, well, every Team of the Week yesterday was about 40k before the SBC came out. We can see that Van Amstel was 50k. Meaning that he had significant demand on top of the price of a Team of the Week to rise. But what he did is he dropped down there to 34k. We can see 33k here, which was the same price as any Team of the Week. So I could have gone and bought some Randy like Consigli, who's not being used in any SBC, or I could have bought Van Amstel. And as a result, I've gone and bought Van Amstel because you've got players who are being used in the Dutch Evo, which is the orange onslaught here. And then I've also gone and bought players who I showed you earlier, like Megan Rapone, Booth. I've also gone and picked up some Anthony Robinsons, who weren't quite SBC fodder, but I think they'll do well. There you go, some Anthony Robinsons there, some Rapones there, some Booth there, and all those players right there are because they're basically got that double demand, so they'll rise due to their being used in SBCs, but then they'll rise that little bit extra because they're being used for Evos. So that is the first way how I've honed in my investment in a specific sort of thing. The second way how I've invested is Brazil. So if you're not aware, basically what happens every single week is we go and get ourselves you've got to play Foot Champs with this one nation. We're quite familiar with it. Started off with England, then went to Argentina, then went to Portugal. Well, how it seems to work is whatever the last player on here is the next nation. So it's also gone Europe, South America, Europe, South America. Because we started with England, Europe, went to Argentina, South America, went to Portugal, Europe, went to, well, what it seems to be, Brazil, South America. So there's multiple things that I hint that next week is going to be Brazil. Well, if we go and look at the Portuguese Team of the Weeks, we can see that the Portuguese Team of the Weeks would have outperformed non-Portuguese Team of the Weeks. So if I went to hourly Tuesday, we can see that João Cancelo was around about 44k in the morning, when if I go and load up some random Team of the Week for someone like Moffy, I believe he only would have been around about 41k. Hourly yesterday, 42k, but then he kind of dropped, where Cancelo didn't really drop going into 6 PM. Especially because now we're a lot more certain that the nation is going to be Brazil in comparison to previous weeks where we weren't so certain. What you should see is even if these team weeks don't do that well due to upgrade SBCs, which they are expected to do well, they should do well due to the hype of them being needed for the next tournament, because give or take, every single time someone's needed for the next tournament, the players rise. So as a result, what I've bought, I've kind of got two different segments of investments here. I've got the players who are SBC fodder, or the floor rate. So at the moment, all team of the weeks are give or take about 37k. So I've gone and picked up stuff like Talisca at 37k. I've gone and picked up players like Yase at 37k. I've gone and picked up players like Malcolm at 37k. Just because, again, if I can buy something that's any sort of team of the week or buy a team of the week that has that extra demand, then Brazilians are good to go for. So the third segment that I'm invested in is going with Portuguese players. So the reason we're going to invest in Portuguese players, and again I did release a video on this morning, is because these players have a decent rise from the morning after the objective to the afternoon after the objective. So obviously the objective came out yesterday, and these Portuguese team weeks are low in the morning, and what should happen is they should rise and rise and rise going into the afternoon as people log on to FIFA and build their teams. So here's an example of this happening last year. So you can see the morning after Argentinians were needed, he went down to 33, and just that afternoon he went above 37, if I can get that point. I don't think I can get that point because the PC stops it, but there we go, you got to, there you go, 37k. So you see a decent rise in a short amount of time. And then on top of that, you can sell these guys for lazy buyers. Because there's quite a lot of people buying Portuguese team of the weeks, I've managed to go and sell a Bruno Fernandes at 59k, despite Bruno Fernandes only selling for around about 42k. Because there's just so many people buying them that every now and again you get someone who's going to be careless and they're going to go and misbuy the card. So what I basically do is buy all these Portuguese players, and just while I'm waiting till we get into the afternoon, I list them all at like just under max price, and then again, that Bruno Fernandes is going to sell on. It's made me an easy 20k and I haven't even done anything. So again, the investments for the Portuguese, just like with the Brazilian ones, I've split them between two. You've got, so for the Brazilian ones, the players that weren't fodder who I've gone and bought is someone like second inform Rodrigo. I think he'll do quite well. But yeah, so the Portuguese players, the cheap ones I've gone for is going to be Bruno Fernandes, and I've gone and picked up a bunch of Cancelos. I also picked up a few first inform Vitinhas. And then the expensive one I've gone for this second inform Bruno, who we picked up for 38 and no higher, and he already seems to be rising up to 48. And then the other Portuguese team of the weeks that I've gone and picked up are, there we go, Rafa, Roger Fernandes. I mean, in all fairness, some of these are just because I bought one of each, but the other expensive one, I also went and picked up some Vitinhas. So, gone and picked up some expensive Portuguese players and some cheap Portuguese players. Those cheap Portuguese players don't rise this evening, I just hold on to them because team of the weeks do well throughout the week. If the cheap team of the weeks do really well, I just sell them and buy the non-Portuguese ones. So those are my three sort of investments I focus on other than buying just team of the week. Now, I guess one thing I'm yet to cover in the video, which guys may be a bit bad for me, is why am I even buying team of the weeks in the first place? Well, for the last month, without failure, team of the weeks have always dropped on the Wednesday and Thursday and then rose really nicely. So like without failure, we can go all the way back to last month. So the reason we buy team of the weeks is because for the last month, without failure, these team of the weeks have always dropped midweek and risen on the weekend. So we can show you this right here with them being cheap. Again, literally a month ago, down to 26k, end of the week up to 32. Down there to 23k, end of the week up there to 37. Drop down there to 34k, up there to 45. Down there to 33, up there to 45. And obviously they went back down to 33, 34. Again, the vast majority I bought were about 36k. So that's why I buy team of the weeks, because without failure, these guys have done really well, nearly outperformed everything, maybe apart from live cards and maybe some very low rated fodder that's done well. They've outperformed every other investment, and they're just so simple to go into every week. Even the weeks when they're not needed for many upgrade SBCs, they still seem to be doing well. There's been weeks where I thought, they wouldn't do that well, they weren't needed for the Saturday SBC. Still went up like 10, 15k. So yeah, the money on these is brilliant. So what I've basically gone and done is I've gone and bought one of each team of the week. You can see right here, all of these just under 37k. Now they did go down to 33, 34k, but last week they kept dropping through to about 10 AM. So I was like, okay, well I'll wait till about 10 AM to go and buy these cards. They've been rising give or take since about 6, 7 AM. So it's a different trend to last week. So because we're gambling last week's trend and even the week before that, we were gambling a little bit later into the day. Well, sadly this time they rebounded a little bit earlier, meaning we missed the low point by about 2-3k. But because they rise 10k, 2-3k isn't the end of the world. It's likewise if you're watching this video and they're 37 to 38. Because we're getting loads of Icon SBCs this week, that, there's a decent chance that a lot of these are going to go max price at 50k. So again, if you do also want to go and hone in your investment even more, go for the ones with 55, well, I'd go for the ones with 60k plus price ranges. Someone like Cole Palmer, I've been able to get for the same price, but he's got a 70k price range. Someone like Sorloth, only a 55k price range. Ideally, what you want to do is find the ones with 60k or higher. They're predominantly going to be the high-rated players, all the players at least previously in the year that would have been seen as meta. Someone like Modric, no, he's only got a 55. He's only got a 55. Bellingham's got a 65, and again, Bellingham I'm picking up for the same price as someone who doesn't. So again, if you want to make even better, well, even more of an investment just on any generic team league, buy the ones with high price ranges. Now the peaks for these have been at a few different times. Sometimes they've been on a Saturday evening, sometimes they've been on a Tuesday evening. It's just down to you. It doesn't really matter. There isn't a significant difference, but if you want to maybe get out on a Saturday and in some different investments, that's, you know, a purely decent purely decent gamble. Alternatively, you can wait till Sunday and sell off the Icon SBC, but sometimes we have still seen Saturday be the peak. Regarding me keeping 2.6 million, the reason for this is because if you remember last week's FUT Champions League was Argentina. Well, the cup was Spain. And as a result, there was actually really, really good money on going for the Spanish players. I think I called it earlier in the week in terms of, to my viewers, what the Spanish strikers would do where Spain's needed. I believe they did very well. So we're kind of keeping a bit of coins because, if we can, we'll go and rash invest for this and hopefully make loads of good money. So that's one of the reasons why I'm keeping the 2.6 million. On top of that, once you've bought 330 team weeks, you really do start running out of team weeks you haven't already bought. So that is also a bit of a nightmare. But that is going to wrap that up. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning with a brand new video.